You probably hear the beautiful sound of construction to the back. You hear that sound? Oh, that's music to my ears. I love that sound. Other people don't like it. I love it, Josh. I think when I hear that sound, it reminds me of money. In this case, it reminds me of lack of money because I'm paying for it, so it's the opposite.
President Trump, he loves the sound of construction. He's a builder. He's a creator. He puts up skyscrapers all over the world. I know I've stayed in some of them, various places. And the media, they're very angry that there will be a ballroom at the White House. They are anti-ballroom. So, they had, Big Balls, the guy who was beaten to a bloody pulp by a gang of criminal Democrats on the streets of Washington, D.C. while he was trying to defend his gal pal who was being carjacked by the gang of Democrat criminals. They're okay with him because he was drenched in blood. But now they're very anti-big ballroom. See, they don't want a big ballroom. The other thing they could deal with. In fact, I learned this morning, crazy as it might sound, I learned that the Democrats have sicked their crazy dogs on the construction company. That's right. They're threatening the construction company people and getting a hold of them and threatening them. The bizjournals.com has the story of the construction company. It's ACECO, like ACECO, met with online hostility amid White House East Wing demolition controversy. It's not actually a demolition. They're putting an addition on. They're not demolishing the East Wing. They're putting a ballroom on. They're adding to the White House. And they're acting like this has never been done before, which is completely ridiculous, of course. The East Wing wasn't even built until 1942, and it's the First Lady's wing. But it wasn't even used. No office there was used by a First Lady until we got to Rosalynn Carter. So the Jimmy Carter, again, the Carter administration, 1977 to 1981, elected in 76, inaugurated in 81. In 77, and then out in 81 when Ronald Reagan, thankfully, was the age of Reagan was ushered into the White House. But never mind that. They're very, very angry because there's just Trump derangement syndrome. It really is. It's not like, oh, wow, there's a big renovation going on at the White House. A major ballroom is being added. Be more kind of put us on an equal footing with the French and the British and the Saudis, where the president has been visiting recently, and they all have palaces that go back to the age of the monarchs, right, which the Democrats, I think, want to return to because they're very authoritarian, these people. So I got that. Yeah, but the ACECO met with online hostility and threats amid the White House East Wing because it's controversial. It's controversial. That's what they say. And that's just because Trump is doing it. And they're angry and bitter because of what's it called? Trump derangement syndrome, TDS. Isn't that amazing? Yes, it is. Well, welcome back once again. We remain at 888-630-9625, and what do we have? We have George Snuffleupagus for you. We got the government shutdown. The Democrats they're keeping the government shut down because they hate children. They harvest the organs of about 1 million of them a year, just like their guy, Joseph Mengele. Or is that Yusuf? I think the Democrats prefer Yusuf Mengele.
I like to be close to the children.
Keep her away from the children. But we've got a lot of stories to get to, and the mailbag, because it's Mailbag Day here in the Chris Plant Show and Hump Day in the Clinton household. That's completely different, though. And I know are we gonna have Luigi Mangione on the show to tell us how he was beaten up by 7 ladyboys when he was trolling the bars in Thailand? He's in Bangkok, one night in Bangkok, and there's a song about that. I think "Make a Hard Man Crumble." I think that's a grown man. We've got all that stuff. But Luigi Mangione, he met a bunch of cross-dressers and they beat the hell out of him in Thailand. Not what his father paid for when he sent him on that overseas backpacking trip. We've got that. Yes, we do. But also, and we got George Snuffleupagus today. because he continues to be a complete fraud, along with Jen Psaki. These are two former Democrat White House spokespeople who were given big network media jobs because they were Democrat Party White House spokespeople, not in spite of or not because it's one of their credentials, but because it's their only credential, and that's what we have going there. Now, the Republicans are trying to reopen the government. The Democrats are keeping it shut down. The media is lying about it. So everything is as normal in Washington, D.C. Situation normal in Washington, D.C. But before we get to that, I want to get to another, because there is another amazing story that has to do with the communists, that the Democrats are communists all around us. Just amazing. But, they love to call everybody Nazis. And there is this story out of Maine, the beautiful state of Maine, where Mainers live. People from Maine are called Mainers. And what's the headline today? Mein Kampf is the headline today. Democratic Maine Senator candidate, he's running for the Senate as a Democrat, Graham Plattner, Platner, no relation, even in this dyslexic world. Graham Plattner admits he got Nazi-linked tattoo while, quote, very inebriated. He was drunk. He's like Luigi Mangione was with the cross-dressing prostitutes in Bangkok. But that's another story for another disease. Graham Plattner, a Marine veteran who's running for a U.S. Senate seat in the state of Maine, said he was very inebriated when he got a tattoo linked to Nazism while on leave in Croatia, where they have no love for Nazis, I can assure you, nearly 20 years ago. And he insists he's, listen to this now, quote, not a secret Nazi. We should have that audio. He's a Democrat running for the Senate. And he's, you're in a kind of a tough place politically when you got to tell the interviewer, I'm not a secret Nazi. I just have a Nazi tattoo of the skull and crossbones of the SS. But pay no attention to that. The liberal candidate, 41 years old, went out of his way to disclose the controversial skull tattoo on the right side of his chest as he shared an embarrassing video that shows him singing in only briefs, that would be underwear, not legal briefs, at a wedding celebration for his brother. Everybody was in their underwear. It's not really just him. The Democrat oyster farmer, he's an oyster farmer, that's his job, in an apparent attempt to get ahead of bad press, said he was on leave with fellow Marines in Croatia in 2007 when he got the questionable ink, which appears to resemble the Totenkopf, an image adopted as a symbol by Hitler's Schutzstaffel. That's the SS, very, very bad people. They started out as Adolf Hitler's personal security detail, and then they grew into the dreaded murderous SS, right? We got very inebriated, he said, and we did what Marines do on liberty. We decided to get a tattoo, he explained on the left-wing Democrat Party podcast Pod Save America, run by Obama administration officials. We chose a terrifying-looking skull and crossbones off the wall because we're Marines, and, skulls and crossbones are a pretty standard military thing. And we got those tattoos, and then we all moved on with our lives. Well, now you're running for the Senate, so it's a little different now. You remember the media, the Democrats, but I repeat myself, attacked now Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. They said he had a Nazi tattoo on his chest, and it's actually a cross, a Christian cross with 4 little crosses around it. It's called the Jerusalem Cross. You'll find the Jerusalem Cross embedded in the floor tiles of the stonework at the Washington National Cathedral, among other places. Not a Nazi symbol. Couldn't be farther from it, but they attacked him for that. And it was false, naturally, because they're Democrats and they're the media. But they vilified him for that for quite a while, and then they never retracted it because, it's wrong. But then they just, went back to cheating on their dogs or whatever it is they do. And now you've got an actual Democrat running for an actual Senate seat with an actual Nazi tattoo, the SS tattoo.
I am not a secret Nazi.
I'm not a secret Nazi, he says. There he is, and that's a soundbite of him. That's going to be in all the political ads, I would expect. I am not a secret Nazi. No, he's an out-of-the-closet Nazi. Not at all. But it gets better. Hang on. He said the tattoo never raised any red flags, including when he joined the Army National Guard. The Army prohibits ink that is extremist, racist, or sexist. Well, I'd say the Nazi SS is racist. It's anti-Semitic, and I don't think they're known for their feminist attributes either, but never mind that. It came up, and we got wind of that in the opposition research. Somebody was shopping the idea that I was a secret Nazi with a hidden Nazi tattoo. And, well, he does have a hidden Nazi tattoo, at least when he's wearing a shirt, but not in this video when he's drunk at the wedding. So that's what he told. It's Tommy Vitor who's hosting the Pod Save. Remember Tommy Vitor? He's the guy who said, dude, that was like so 2 years ago. A White House spokesman. Democrats are just, they're like herpy. Like each one is like one herpy. After a firestorm of backlash, Plattner said he was planning to have the offending ink removed. That sounds painful, doesn't it? Because I've seen the picture. It's right there on his chest. He's going to have the ink removed. It's not until I started hearing from reporters and D.C. insiders that I realized this tattoo resembled a Nazi symbol. Yeah, resembled. That's when you first figured it out. You're pretty dumb then. You got a low IQ thing going on there. I absolutely would not have gone through life having this on my chest if I knew that. Well, you're really incredibly, that's low IQ theater. Every day is an IQ test. And to insinuate that I did is disgusting. Well, you went and got the tattoo, and it's a tattoo on your chest, and it's a Nazi tattoo. I don't know how dumb you can be, but I guess this is what Democrats look for in U.S. senators. I'm already planning to get this removed, he said. What do you mean already? How can you say already? I've had it for 20-something years. However, his former campaign director disputed his claim. This is great stuff. Genevieve McDonald, former campaign director for him, said, maybe he didn't know it when he got it, but he got it years ago, and he should have had it covered up because he knows damn well what it means. That's what Genevieve McDonald said, his former campaign director, what she said on Facebook. Now, hang on. She resigned from Plattner's campaign after his old Reddit posts surfaced, which included labeling all police bastards, right? ACAB, all cops are bastards. That's a Democrat slogan, and then they shoot everybody. Describing rural white Americans as actually stupid and racist, and once calling himself, listen to this, a communist around 2021, according to CNN. That's right. He's self-described as a communist. He's got a Nazi SS tattoo on his chest. His own lady campaign manager fled when she found out that he was calling all cops bastards, saying all white Americans, he's a white American, are actually stupid and racist, and self-describing as a communist. Now, that's a Democrat running for the United States Senate for Susan Collins' seat. She's kind of a Republican much of the time, from Maine, and Maine is a wonderful and beautiful state, of course. But he's got the Waffen-SS tattoo, skull and crossbones on his. You know, you've seen it in all the Nazi movies. The skull, you got the black hats, you know, on the Hugo Boss uniforms with the silver metal skull and crossbones in the center of the hat. And that's what he has tattooed on his chest. But he's a Democrat, so it's not a big thing. Not a big thing for him. This is the New York Post reporting the story. And it's not going to go far beyond that because Democrats, they take care of each other, don't they? And that means the media. When I say Democrats take care of, that means the media covers up all crimes. So he's a communist with a Nazi tattoo, and he's running for Senate, and that's fine. From handcrafted steaks to delicious fall favorites, Omaha Steaks delivers the world's best steak experience. And right now, during their semi-annual sale, wonderful sale, you can get 50% off, half off, site-wide. That means the entire website at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners, that's you, get an extra $35 off with the promo code PLANT at checkout. Just use my last name. There's an E on the end. Nobody knows why. My best girl and I, we love the filet mignons from Omaha Steaks. We cook them up. sear them up real good in my grandfather's iron skillet. They're beautiful. Get a little crispy edge on them in the skillet. Wonderful. And right now is the perfect time to stock up on this. Listen, they've got exceptional handcrafted, beautiful steaks. The flavor is unbelievable. The convenience of Omaha Steaks. They carry mouth-watering burgers, chicken, pork, seafood, and amazing desserts as well. You get to bring home the legendary flavor and everyday convenience of Omaha Steaks by visiting omahasteaks.com for 50% off the entire website during their semi-annual sale, and for an extra $35 off, use the promo code PLANT at checkout. I'm going to go do it myself. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com, an extra $35 off with the promo code PLANT at checkout. I can use my own name for a discount. That's great. Terms apply. See the site for details. Yes, sir. How about that? I don't know if I've ever done that before. I think it might be overdue. I think I got to do that. You got that? So he identified as a communist. How about that? But, of course, he's not alone. And you'll never guess who's endorsing this communist with the Nazi tattoo from Maine. I've got that coming up.
I am not a secret Nazi.
So is he more a Nazi because of the Nazi SS tattoo on his chest that he's had for more than a decade and a half? Or is he more of a communist because this guy, he's a Democrat. He's running for the United States, not the state Senate, United States Senate, Graham Plattner. And it's wonderful because he has, and then he revealed that he became a communist, which is getting a little crazy, isn't it? Since so many of them are all about being communist. This guy who's running for Senate says that he became a communist. John Brennan, the CIA director under Barack Obama, communist, and voted for the Communist Party candidate for President of the United States, Gus Hall. Van Jones, a racist that they brought into the Obama White House very proudly, was, at least then, a self-described communist. We only learned recently that James Comey, the former FBI director that targeted President Trump, also identified as a communist. And here the CNN actually has a headline on it on Al Gore's amazing internet. Quote, "I got older and became a communist," end quote. Deleted posts show how Maine Senate hopeful, see how they leave out Democrat. If it were Republican, that'd be in the headline. Maine Senate hopefuls' raw views on politics, war, and police. You should, all cops are bastards, and you gotta kill them all, and all that. But he began to identify as a communist. He's got a Nazi tattoo on his chest. But when you're a Democrat, that's really not a problem. Just get a table for five with Brennan, Van Jones, Comey, and this guy. I love this headline, too. Bernie Sanders stands by Maine oysterman taking on Susan Collins, despite racist posts and troubling tattoo. So he's a racist, Nazi-loving, self-described communist. And I think, it's like, you had me at communist. I think Bernie Sanders said. Bernie Sanders stands by Marine oysterman taking on Susan Collins. He's got racist posts and Nazi tattoo, the Waffen SS. But Bernie Sanders just can't get past the fact that he's self-described as a communist. And so he wants to date him. You know how they are. And let's go back to the Nazi because there's some funny audio here. And the Democrats, they're okay with all this because when you have information dominance, this is what you do. Here is Graham Plattner with the Nazi SS tattoo on his chest, who's self-described as a communist. Got to keep in mind that the Nazi party of Adolf Hitler in Germany was called, the full name of the party was, as any child of six can tell you, the National Socialist German Workers' Party. National Socialist. So and they like to shorten it to Nazi because they don't want the words socialist and socialist workers being brought up when you're talking about the Nazis, because they've gone to great lengths to polish up the turd called socialism while demonizing Nazism, even though Nazis self-described as National Socialist Workers' Party, the Socialist Workers' Party of Germany. But never mind that. That's been erased from history by the socialists, of course. And here is the Democrat Party's guy for the United States Senate, Graham Plattner.
At no point in this entire experience of my life did anybody ever once say, hey, you're a Nazi. It never came up.
You're a Nazi. Let's start now. Hey, you're a Nazi. I can tell by the Nazi tattoo on your chest. And the Democrats are supposed to hate the U.S. military, and the guy allegedly served in the Marines. All we know about his time in the Marines is that he had some leave in Croatia where he got a Nazi tattoo, but not just any Nazi tattoo. It's the SS tattoo, the most dreaded, feared gang of killers.
Until we got wind that in the opposition research, somebody was shopping the idea that I was a secret Nazi with a hidden Nazi tattoo. And I can honestly say that if I was trying to hide it, I've not been doing a very good job for the past 18 years.
So his defense is that he's not hiding his Nazi tattoo. That's a good political defense. I think George Stephanopoulos will be fine with that, don't you think? He's not hiding his Nazi tattoo. And, hey, let's ask him about being a communist. When did you decide that you're a communist? Because, you know.
I am not a secret Nazi.
And the explanation is it's not a secret. Here's my tattoo. I haven't been making a secret of it. That's what he said. All right, now let's go to the telephones because somebody called in on this very topic, as a matter of fact. Let's go to, and then the mailbag. The mailbag is coming in. Let's go to Scott, calling from Louisville, Kentucky. Scott, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hi, Chris.
Hey.
Love your show.
Thanks.
Even all the way over here in beautiful Kentucky. The sick and tired of hearing the national media and all the leftists say that Antifa, it doesn't exist. It's just an idea. So I've started to kind of flip that back around. Unfortunately, we don't have very many of them here in Kentucky. But when you do have the misfortune of running into a lefty and they name call, call us fascists or Nazis or white supremacists, I say, well, that doesn't exist. That's just an idea.
It's just an idea. Said you mean Nazism? Nazism doesn't. That's just an idea. That'll confuse them, though.
Well,
they can't zero in on their own rhetoric. They're unaware of their own rhetoric, aren't they?
Yeah, and it's frustrating that that kind of catches hold, and you hear all the politicians say it's just an idea. So okay, well, all these nasty things you call us, it's just an idea.
Yeah,
they
get their marching orders from the party central, and they all parrot very faithfully and dutifully whatever it is that the whatever talking points, whatever words and turns of phrase that the party issues, they all carry them forward. And it's the zombie apocalypse, I think, is what we're witnessing, Scott, and that's what concerns me. But they are, yeah, that's right. Antifa is a left-wing terror group founded in Germany in the 1930s. And the Democrat Party have picked up the mantle, the sword, the torch of the alleged anti-fascist movement. But the irony, of course, is that the fascists called themselves the Socialist Workers' Party of Germany. And in Italy, Benito Mussolini was one of the leaders in the Socialist Party and the Socialist movement before he jumped ship late in his political career and moved over to the fascists in Italy, and they ended up hanging him upside down and beating him with lawn chairs and things like that. They're just kind of fun. I don't know if you've ever seen that film footage, but Benito Mussolini hanging upside down by his ankles.
Peaceful.
Yeah, it was mostly peaceful. They were serving lunch off on the side. You can't see that in the film footage, but it was mostly peaceful. People were enjoying, a nice meal on the side. Yeah, it's just an idea. There you go. Communism is just an idea. Marxism is just an idea. It's an idea that murdered 100 million people in the last, 107 years or something. And 100 million people, more than any gang of murderers in the history of the world. Kubla Khan was like the Red Crescent, the Red Cross compared to the Green Crescent, compared to, honestly, the Nazi Party, the Socialist Workers' Party of Adolf Hitler. There's a lot of corruption out there. I like to try to straighten some of that out, Scott. That's I'm a hobbyist, but I do what I can.
I got nothing else. Keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a great job.
Thank you,
Chris.
Scott. Thanks. Enjoy your Louisville, Kentucky day. Louisville. That's great. All right, now where are we? That's the end of that, because this guy, I got to tell you. But why is it that so many, do you know anybody that identifies as a communist or identified as a communist? Not that I hang out with, but the Democrats, they've got them everywhere. John Brennan, and in fact, the John Brennan story today is a gigantic John Brennan story, because this is why you want to have control of Congress, to fight back against the Justice Department and the FBI, so corrupted by the Democrat Party. But a great story today, because he's another communist. House Judiciary Committee refers former CIA Director John Brennan to Justice Department for prosecution. Why do you think his mother gave him the nickname Penitentiary Face when he was just a baby in the cradle? She knew. She knew where he was going to end up. Representative Jim Jordan alleges the former CIA director lied in 2023 testimony about the agency's use of the Steele dossier. The Steele dossier was, of course, Hillary Clinton's opposition research. The Nazi there was just talking to, who's a communist, was talking about the opposition research. And this is just Hillary's opposition research. And they hired these crooks, crook in England, the Steele dossier, and all that. That's Steele. But in a letter to Attorney General Pamela Bondi on Tuesday, that's yesterday, House Judiciary Chairman, Representative Jim Jordan, Republican of Ohio, referred former CIA Director John Brennan to the Justice Department for allegedly making false statements to Congress. Allegedly, it's on camera. We've been talking about it forever right here. Jordan accuses Brennan of lying in his 2023 Judiciary Committee testimony by denying that the CIA used the Steele dossier in prepping the 2017 Intelligence Community Assessment, the ICA. You have to start abbreviating it. The CIA gives you the ICA. The Central Intelligence Agency gives you the Intelligence Community Assessment on Russian election interference, and falsely claiming the CIA opposed including the dossier. Sure, in the Intelligence Community Assessment. He was also, Brennan, involved in including the Steele dossier, which was just Democrat Party propaganda, a big pack of lies that they paid for by some pimp in England who claims to have been a spy, even though the FBI had labeled him as a risk, a high risk. But never mind that. But the Steele dossier was a series of reports detailing President Donald Trump's alleged ties to Russia, which was compiled and delivered to the FBI in 2016 by former British intelligence agent Christopher Steele. Now, in Jordan's letter, he alleged subsequent investigations confirmed that the Clinton campaign and the DNC paid Steele via the law firm Perkins Coie and opposition research firm Fusion GPS, remember all these names, to provide derogatory information about Trump's purported ties to Russia, which resulted in the discrediting of the dossier. Now, in July 2025, the Trump administration declassified documents which appear to show Brennan approved the decision to include the Steele dossier, Hillary Clinton's opposition research, and the Intelligence Community Assessment, despite objections from senior CIA officials. And then he went on to lie to Congress while under oath about this. And, he's not called Penitentiary Face for nothing. This is where he belongs. I spotted this guy as a criminal day one. And look at his face. Now, look at him. So his nickname, I don't give nicknames as well as President Trump, perhaps, but every now and then. And honestly, these guys. Now, look what I've done to the clock, Michael. I know I want to get to I'm getting to the mailbag today. But I think I may have to tap pause. I wanted to get to it here, but I have too much news to get to. So According to the declassified documents, decision to incorporate the information, the Steele dossier, into the intelligence community assessment was jointly made by directors of CIA and FBI. Just crooked as hell. Third world banana republic, self-described communists. Then we learned that the FBI director, Comey, also self-identified as a communist at one point. And I'm talking to Jasmine here, and I'm talking to Michael Piercy. He might know communists. And it's like, no. And I don't know anybody that ever identified as a communist because they were that stupid or because they were that left-wing or what. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. Comey, commie. Van Jones, commie. John Brennan, commie. Barack Obama, mentored by a commie when he was a teenager named Frank Marshall Davis, who he writes about in his book, just calling him Frank, his commie pal. Well, back to John Brennan, the 5-year statute of limitations on criminal prosecution has passed. Congressman Jordan also accused Brennan of providing false testimony during the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence in 2017, a move Jordan says indicates a pattern of Brennan's willingness to lie to Congress about the Steele dossier and everything else, I've got to say. Lying about so much, the guy lies because he's a commie. And look at him. Look at his face. You trust that guy? Look at him and say, oh, he's got a trustworthy face. No. If you were casting him in a movie, he'd be torturing James Bond in the testicles area with electroshock because that's John Brennan. He's not one of the good guys. And that's why Barack Obama made him the CIA director. He had been a sort of a mid-level CIA hack. In fact, he was in charge of the CIA station in Saudi Arabia when Saudi Arabia gave visas to how many? 12 or 14 of the September 11th hijackers out of Saudi Arabia got their visas while he was there guarding the safety of America in Saudi Arabia. I don't think he did a very good job, but then he was promoted by Barack Obama to become the director of the CIA because he loves communists. You know how that goes. Man, oh, Manischewitz. Got Nazi tattoo, you got the communist thing, you got all that going on. Completely crazy. Now, Scott Towner, I've got the mailbag questions in front of me. I have to keep. This is what happens, though. I'm like, I want to get in the mailbag in this hour. And then the news stories just start falling through the ceiling tiles that cannot be ignored. But in the meantime, let's go to the telephones, Michael. Let's go to Dennis, calling from Chesapeake, Virginia. Dennis, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris.
Hey,
I can hear Trump at the grand opening saying, I have the biggest balls of them all.
Biggest ball, the ball's room. Yeah, the biggest.
Yeah.
And that's about time. The place needs a big ballroom. It's the White House. And again, the president's traveling the world, seeing the ballrooms that the French president has, and you go to Britain, and they got, of course, they have these palaces from the days of the monarchs. Then Saudi Arabia, where they have giant ballrooms and stuff. So the White House will have a big ballroom. The Democrats are against it. What is up with these people, huh?
I don't know. But look, Cuomo was beaten hands down by Mondami. Why he's staying in, I think he might be getting paid to stay in. But Sliwa, it has to be Republican versus Democrat, period. Hardcore, that's your choice. This Cuomo staying in, I think he's working for their team.
For the Mamdani, the commie team?
Yeah, the Democrats.
That Curtis Sliwa, I don't know if you saw this, said that he was offered $10 million to get out of the race.
Right, yeah. Yep, and what scares me the most is the highest population of Jewish people other than Israel is New York City. And, I'm a conspiracy theorist.
Uh-huh.
So I see a lot I don't like going on there. It has to be Sliwa versus Mondami, period.
Yeah, well, Sliwa's getting like single digits and a lot of like 8% of the vote, maybe 13% of the vote. I saw last night a proposal being made that Curtis Sliwa should join up with Cuomo as a team, like mayor and deputy mayor, and Sliwa will fight crime and Cuomo will be the crime. And I don't know if that'd work either to take Mamdani the commie out. I'm not sure if even if you add up their poll numbers, Cuomo and Sliwa, they don't match what Mamdani the commie has. But it looks like Dennis, like New York is about to sink their own battleship, doesn't it?
Man, I was born in Rochester, and I hate what's going on up there. I hate it.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, Cuomo has to go. Period. That is the answer. I don't care what polls say. I don't care what anybody says. Cuomo's got to go. And it may be too late, but that's the answer. That's the only hope.
Then you think Curtis Sliwa could beat Mamdani the commie?
I think he could. I absolutely think he could, because
I
think
would love
all the people know what's up. New Yorkers are not stupid people. It's just who goes out to vote and all that.
Yeah. Well, the Democrat Party. Interesting. I got it. What are the elections 2 weeks away? Early voting starts, because Democrats and early voting. That's all about stealing elections, by the way. Mail-out ballots, ballot harvesting, early voting. That's all about stealing power. And it's the Democrat Party's program.
$10 million with Jeeves, stretch limo, chauffeur, no-show job.
Another story just broke. See, this is what happens, the news. As the world turns, we're on the air for 3 hours every day, and that's half the work day in Washington, 9 a.m. to noon. So that's a half a day. But here's the latest story now about the communists from Maine who's running for Senate.
I am not a secret Nazi.
He's got the Nazi tattoo on his chest. He's self-described as a communist. His own campaign manager quit because she thinks that he's out of his mind. Got all this racist stuff. All cops are bastards. He's crazy. But here's the latest from the Robinson Report on Substack. And it's worth noting. Ex-Marine Graham Plattner. That's not how I would start in describing him. Ex-Marine Graham Plattner taught military tactics, recruited for the Socialist Paramilitary Group in Maine, the state of Maine. That's what they have, one of those there. Reddit posts reviewed by the Robinson Report show that Graham Plattner, Democratic candidate for the U.S. Senate in Maine, was a member of Maine's Socialist Rifle Association. That's different than the NRA. I'm a member of the NRA, the National Rifle Association. He was a recruiter and a trainer as a former Marine for the Socialist Rifle Association.